I just got back from vacation. So I haven't just sat down in front of my computer with the lone goal of making my own music in several weeks. I fired up Ableton with an incredible amount of excitement and set my Dr. Pepper with cream soda, not sponsored, just within reach, but not too close to my sense, and proceeded to sit there aimlessly for longer than I'd like to admit. I don't really believe in writer's block. I think I've used it as an excuse in the past for those days when I just don't feel like working. But over the years, I've kind of learned the value of just showing up anyway, whether I feel like it or not. So while this paralyzing stare into the void of the blank page was a little embarrassing, I wasn't ready to throw up my hands just yet. I decided to make it even more embarrassing by live streaming the process on the internet. This is the hardest part, right? Staring at a blank canvas. You just need something to mess around with. And if I go output, it should, when I hit play, sound horrible. I really would like to kind of get something going here that I can maybe expand upon later. Alright, so that's pretty terrible so far. My dad has this saying, and I'm not sure if it originated with him, but that's the first place that I heard it, and my dad can beat up your dad, so whenever I seemed paralyzed by not knowing which tool to bring him while he worked on the family car, he would say, "Son, do something even if it's wrong." And while I'm still not entirely sure what kind of wrench he needed, I found that to be incredibly valuable advice for starting any creative project. It definitely applies to more than just music. I still hate staring at the blank page, but I really enjoy the process of tinkering on ideas after I have something to tinker with. And sometimes I just need a fragment of something to get the creative ball rolling. That's closer to what I had in mind. Even if I eventually end up abandoning that initial idea once I get a little deeper into the process. Yeah, I just don't love it. And that's okay. What is weird glitch art, and why did I think that was a good thing to call a preset? Yeah, I kind of hate everything about all of this. There is a reason it's called the creative process, after all, and the sooner that we come to terms with the fact that that first idea probably won't come in one complete initial stroke of inspiration, the quicker we can start actually composing or producing, both of which are creative processes of trial and error by their very nature. Or, as my composition teacher once put it, who the hell told you it was supposed to be easy? And my composition teacher can beat up your composition teacher, so you may not be able to tell so much anymore, but there was a time in my life when I was really into strength training and specifically powerlifting. And I kept expecting that to get easier with time, but if you've ever done that yourself, you know that that's not how it works. It actually never gets easy, but your body does get acclimated to it over time, aka you get stronger. 200 pounds never stops weighing 200 pounds, but you start to be able to move it more efficiently. So you gradually increase the amount of weight on the bar so that it continues to become a challenge since you've adapted to the old challenge at this point. And it's pretty much the same with the creative process as well. Now, in the gym, you can actually start to enjoy the process of lifting and being in the gym, not just for the results that it gives you, but just for love of the process. And once you've reached that point, you've created a ritual of just showing up and doing what's necessary, and the results will ultimately follow. And whether you feel like doing it on any given day is irrelevant. It's just what you do. And simply showing up is more than half the battle in the studio as well as in the gym. So we've shown up, but how do we actually kickstart our creativity when we're staring at the blank screen? Well, here are a couple things that have kind of worked for me best in the past. I once heard composer Bear McCreary say that one thing that he learned early on in his career was to start with a signature sound in each of his scores, something unique that anchored the viewer or listener in that world that he was writing for.
Oh, like Japanese taiko drums? That's a cool idea. I'm gonna go research that for a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I think that inclination to just like find some weird thing that's inspiring in a project and then like dive into it deeply.
Yeah.
That might be the thing that gives my music, if it has a unifying personality, that might be what it is.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Is that everything about it has something that I spend a lot of time trying to figure out.
This is blatantly evident in two of my favorite scores of his, Battlestar Galactica and Black Sails, and now I really want a hurdy-gurdy. This is really a great starting point for any project, and especially if you're into synthesis and sound design, like I am. It's a natural jumping off point to start with a sound that you find really inspiring on its own. Let's see what all that sounds like. Then you can either build layers around it, or if you're proficient enough with an instrument, improvise around it until you find an interesting counter idea. That's better. Or you could take a more traditional approach, something that not many people are doing these days, which means maybe the innovation is in going back and trying the older things that have stood the test of time that people have decided aren't cool anymore. And that would be to start with a melodic idea. And these are really hard to do, and maybe that's why they've fallen a bit out of style. I've personally yet to find anything quite as satisfying as discovering a really moving melody that doesn't border on the cliche or trite. Of course, determining what's cliche or trite depends on your taste, which is another matter entirely. Once you have an interesting melodic idea, you can expand on it with a question and answer. You can take a tiny fragment of that melody and create a sequence. Or write a counter melody that moves when the melody doesn't move, and vice versa. Maybe try it out with different harmonic progressions that can change its mood and context entirely. I think you're starting to get the idea. Good material can withstand variations. If you'd like to read more about my personal compositional philosophies, you can download my free ebook, which looks like this and is linked in the description below. It's free, so why not? Here's where at least knowing your way around an instrument enough to improvise can really help you. That doesn't mean you need to be a virtuoso, but once you can use improvisation as a mining expedition for ideas, you can start coming up with building blocks to move around in the arrangement process. And that's really what composition is at its core, finding ideas that resonate with you, and then reordering them into their most efficient form. It takes experimentation, It takes taste, and experimentation takes a little bit of work. And that's okay because, in the words of Mr. Z, who the hell told you it was supposed to be easy?